Let's turn from the Old Testament now. Everybody says, when it's mentioned about Sabbath, well, you keep the old covenant, the old Sabbath. But we go on the Old Testament plus the New Testament. And in the New Testament, let's turn to Matthew. Matthew chapter 4 and verses 18 to 22. Matthew 4 verses 18 to 22. Now this is the come part. And Jesus, walking by the Sea of Galilee, saw two brethren, Simon called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And he saith unto them, Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. And they straightway left their nets and followed him. And going on from thence he saw other two brethren, James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, in a ship with Zebedee their father, mending their nets. And he called them. And they immediately left the ship and their father and followed them. And then Matthew chapter 8. Matthew chapter 8 and verses 19 and 20. And a certain scribe came and said unto him, Master, I will follow thee whithersoever thou goest. And Jesus saith unto him, The foxes have holes, and the birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man hath nowhere to lay his head. And another of his disciples said unto him, Lord, suffer me first to go and bury my father. But Jesus said unto him, Follow me, and let the dead bury the dead. And when he was entered into a ship, his disciples followed him. So I submit to you that when we are called, we are disciples of God. Now we hear a lot of apostles, and we're going to get into that one too. But when we're called to become a follower of Christ, we become a disciple of Jesus Christ. Then Matthew chapter 10 and verse 1. And it says, And when he had called unto him his, how many? 12 disciples. Remember that number 12. He gave them power against unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease. So that's why I suggest to you that when we are called as disciples of Jesus Christ. Now, verse 2. Now the names of the 12 apostles are these. The first, Simon, who was called Peter, Andrew his brother, James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew the publican, James the son of Alphaeus, and Lebecus, whose surname was Thaddeus, Simon the Canaanite, and Judas Iscariot, who also betrayed him. So these are quite the tribe of disciples, are they not? Do we not fit in that type of category? We're all from different backgrounds. Why didn't Jesus go to the temple and get the high priest and people like that to be his followers? Why? Because I believe that they had already had their minds made up of what their teaching was going to be all about. But Jesus called the uneducated people. Now, I'm not taking anything away from these fishermen, but they would understand what it's like to be fishers. It takes faith to be a fisherman. Because when they go out to sea, they got to have faith that they're going to get out, they're going to get back safely. They have faith that they're going to catch fish. But Jesus said, Come follow me and I'll make you fishers of men. So therefore, he chose those that he knew that could be trained to do what he would want them to do, or what he was suggesting them to do. They weren't forced to do it, but they heard his voice and they followed him. But you notice now that we have changed from the 12 disciples to the 12 apostles. So are they the same? Are apostles and disciples the same? I submit to you that a disciple is one that's called, and that an apostle is one that goes. One that has to go out and preach the message that God has trained them to do. That's the difference. It's the same as ourselves. We come to church and we learn. Then we go out and tell others. Then we become apostles of Jesus Christ. After Jesus gave them the power, and Jesus will give us that power too, if we have the faith and have that trust. And brothers and sisters, I submit that to you, that we need to call on that power now as we have never done before. There's other members of this church that are feeling the same way, that we've got to do something. And we've got to do it quickly. Because Satan knows that his time is short. As we see these signs, you know, we're told that if you hear of earthquakes in diverse places and all these other things, the end is not yet, but the end is at hand. We're told that this gospel shall be preached into all the world, and then the end shall come. And if we don't do it in this district, who's going to do it? The reason I suggest that is because when Lori and I were sort of hitting things up, there used to be cards that would come in the mail for people that would be watching It Is Written. There'd be, I think on the total there was about 7 for New Glasgow, there might have been 2 in Truro, and there was 0 for Pugwash. Which to me means that there's nobody in the Pugwash area that is watching It Is Written. Or at least they're not interested in knowing anything. With Glasgow, Billy said most of them were from their members requesting books or something. Truro, there were names that nobody recognized there, so there were some different ones. So brothers and sisters, no one's doing it on their own free time. They need to be encouraged. We need to blow the trumpet and tell them that Jesus is coming soon. They're going to be, most of the world will be celebrating this month what Christ has done for each one of us. His blood covers our sins, but only if we ask God to forgive us. We are living in trying and terrible times, really. Because how much worse can it get? How much worse can it get? People are killing in the name of God. Deanna and I were talking about that this morning. Was there a pastor in the States that burnt the Quran? And now people are killing people over in the countries. We can be in the same type of situation. Because I mentioned the Sunday law to this person. Because we are going to be faced with the same situation. You hear the leaders. There was one leader that said something, and I'm not going to quote it exactly or say who it was. But his feeling to me was that the Sunday law is going to mean something not too far down the road. And you know when the Sunday law comes in, and then we are not going to have the opportunity to reach out into the communities and just tell people of what Christ has done for us and what He can do for everybody else. We've got to wake up. I know I've been asleep for quite a while too, and it's just been lately that really you start to realize when your time is short. You know, like I mentioned, the other churches, and we think of our dear sister, you know, time runs out on us. Whether we like it or not, we can't do anything about it. And we've got to let the young people know as well as the older people. But somebody has got to be here to carry this church on. If we build a new church, if there's nobody to go to it, it's not going to be much sense having a new church. But if we want a new church, you're going to have people to go to it. So we have got to do something in our community. Truro and Glasgow have to do the same thing. They've got to do something to reach out into the community. Well, Maritime's everywhere. But it's not only our churches. You go to the other churches in the community to sing songs and to other things. Like,
Keep afloat. They're having fundraisers to keep themselves afloat.
because the members are all getting up in years, there's no much financial support anymore. And it's terrible, because I know quite a few years ago, we visited a man and his wife that used to go down south in Florida. They called all the people from Nova Scotia white tops, because they're all white on top, those that have here. But it's, you know, when we stop and think about it, that's what's happening. We are getting up there. And we need some people to throw the torch to. Because that is what Remembrance Day is all about. When I talked about, to you, I throw the torch. Somebody's got to carry it. In Flanders Fields, when we are in a battleground, as we talked about in our lesson study this morning, Satan and God. And I'll tell you, brothers and sisters, you want to be on God's side, because He's the winner. That is one thing that we can be assured of, that God is going to win out in this battle. How do I know? It tells me right here. And it tells me that we need to be ready, that we need to reach out. In verse 27 of chapter 10, it says, "When I tell you in darkness, that speak ye in light, and what ye hear in the ear, that preach ye upon the housetops. And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul. But rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell." And there's only one person that can do that can destroy our body, both soul and body in hell, and that is Satan. God can resurrect us.